When you think of the Velvet Underground and Nico, you probably think of the glamour of Andy Warhol's factory and the whole 1960s New York art scene. So it might surprise you to learn that Nico spent the last few years of her life in the Northwest. 20 years after her death, she's become the subject of a play which will be performed at Salford's Lowry Theatre this autumn. We've been looking back at her time in Manchester.
And what costume shall the poor girl wear?
Model, singer, actress and beatnik icon, friend of the famous and face of the Velvet Underground, Nico had the world at her feet. But that was the 60s. Come the 1980s, Nico found herself part of a very different scene here in the Northwest, down on her luck and addicted to heroin.
What kept Nico in Manchester was initially the fact that we could get her legal drugs. We took her to a doctor and she had a problem getting heroin. It's well known she was a heroin addict, but that we immediately got her a legal supply by taking her to a doctor who gave her a prescription. So the original reason she stayed in Manchester was A, we stabilised and got her, I stabilised and got her a supply of drugs, and then I got her somewhere to live.
Well, where I live right now reminds me of Berlin. Manchester reminds me of Berlin in a way.
Nico had a nomadic life in Manchester, living in various flats and hanging out in pool halls and pubs. It was a world with little glamour.
And she spent her latter days being here, basically, as for want of somewhere else to go, maybe. She'd been some time in New York, and this is where she ended up. And she became a Prestwich resident, familiar with plenty of people as she cruised up and down the road here on a bicycle on a fairly regular basis. And she seemed to like the area. She liked it around here, leafy Broughton Park.
Nico's closest friend during her 7 years in Manchester was a fellow compatriot who would also act as her driver while she toured Britain and Europe.
She was a very modest person as well. She didn't expect much luxury, and she wasn't a diva as such. She just was one of us. And yeah, she did her concerts. She sometimes she wasn't very well and she had to do them anyway. But the show has to go on, and she was quite professional.
Leaving New York and the Velvet Underground behind and shunning the opportunity of a glamorous pop career, Nico completely changed her style, dyeing her hair and writing and performing brooding folk songs. It was a brave move, according to singer and actress Stella Grundy.
She had the confidence to say no, which is brilliant, and most people don't. If someone's holding fame up there and they say do that and you can have it, most people will just say yeah. She said no, and she said no at the height of her fame, and that didn't help her, and that made people say she's difficult to work with, and her being woman, that made it tenfold. So you've got to admire her strength of character that she did do that, and she did have a sense of what was important to her and what she wanted. It may have been drug-addled, it may have been misled, but it was certainly, you know, a conscious decision, and that's real strength that at that time in her life. I wouldn't say she was like dead talented, because she was, you know, she sang flat. What she had was a uniqueness, and she sort of took on the Marlene Dietrich and all that German thing, but she had something else. She had a real charisma, and she could really draw people to. She could also repel people as well, you know, so it's like a powerful presence. I noticed that when I saw her at the Library Theatre. It was danger. You didn't know if she was going to stop a song and walk off, lose it. You know, and it wasn't that kind of, a drunk performer. It was like a real danger if she really doesn't give a, you know.
In what costume shall the poor girl wear to all tomorrow's parties?
It was this performance in 1983 that had Stella hooked on Nico's music, so much so that she's written a play about Nico's years in Manchester.
Seriously, Alan, is that thing insured?
Nonsense. This vehicle has crossed the Sahara. A fine steed.
Oh!
Hey, what's it up, man? She's not pulling that one on me.
Oh, that's slim.
Legion, wait. Just be petrol.
Cut.
We're filming when they leave Manchester to go on tour. They end up in Rome, and it's kind of the little adventures that they have on the way, and that's part of the play. So it goes into a film moment, and we all leave the stage, and then it becomes a film, and we all go in the van. That's Nico's old flat up there. So, you know, it was nice to have that sense of what the kind of places that she lived, which were these big old rambling houses with trees everywhere, because that's what she liked, the darkness of the trees and the tall Gothic towers, as she used to say, you know. So, you know, we had to kind of start it off round here, and it looks exactly the same as it probably did back then.
The last place Nico lived was here in Sedgley Park. In 1988, the house, then divided into flats, was sold to a young married couple, and Nico became an unwanted tenant.
She ended up in squalor. That's the only way I can describe it. I know it's my own house now, but at the time it was appalling. I mean, there was, you know, water dripping in everywhere. There was no heating. It was quite shocking, really, for, well, 20 years ago as it was, for someone to be living like that. Especially someone who knew rich and famous people and moved in those circles, and she ended up in a squalid bedsit. Yeah, it was quite shocking, yeah. She left the house in a taxi because we stood there and watched her go. And literally, it did fit in the back of a black cab. So that was a whole life in 3-4 bags. And that's how she left.
From Manchester, Nico went to Ibiza to start a new life. It would be short-lived. Just months later, she fell off her bicycle and suffered a fatal brain hemorrhage. In the 1960s, Nico had a son, Ari, who was the result of an affair with French actor Alain Delon.
I knew my father was a famous actor and my mum was a famous singer. Not a singer, a top model, an actress. Yeah, she was very strong. She was very disciplined.
Ari returned to Manchester after his mother's death and now has a daughter, ensuring that a part of Nico lives on in the northwest.
She resembles very much. Yeah, same lips, same eyes, and approximately the same nose too.
Although Nico died before reaching her 50th birthday, Ari doesn't want her remembered as a tragic figure.
She was what she was, you know, and she was very strong, and she was living her life the way she wanted to, and she did it till the end.
And cries for all tomorrow's parties.
You can find out more about the Nico play on our website. And don't forget, you can watch this